Really excited to have an Olympian on today's podcast. Ryan Murphy is a 4-time gold medalist. He's a world record holder. And we get a chance to just chop it up with him about his training routine. As Ryan's getting ready for the Olympic Games in Paris, he's been leveraging a technology called NueX. It's an interactive neuromuscular stimulation technology. So Ryan's going to give us some insight into how he's been leveraging this technology to help him not only recover faster as he's getting ready for the games and challenging his body in between workouts, but even more so like this neuro reboot. And that's where we're really going to kick off this conversation, because he's been doing this to help relax his nervous system. And this is somebody that knows how to challenge his body consistently, push himself so he can be dominant at his sport. And being able to come off of that is just as important as how hard he's actually pushing himself. With all that, I don't want to delay anymore. Let's get into this conversation with the Olympian Ryan Murphy. Ryan, man, welcome on to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe.
Let's just kick off. Right before I actually press record, you were like going in. I was like, man, let me just stop right now so we can just put all this on right here. Like, I'm actually cameraman, but like, how'd you first get introduced to it? Like, how'd you first come across the product?
Yeah, so I was first introduced to NueX through my physical therapist at Cal. So she had been utilizing the device with a lot of her rehab patients, and as she was studying the manuals and looking through all the different options of use, she thought of me when she got to the neuro reboot section. So I'm someone where I'm training a lot. Like in swimming, we're training 2 times a day, 3 times a week, and doing a 3-hour practice 3 times a week as well. So a lot of time in the pool. And I've always had a hard time kind of winding down at the end of the day. I feel like I'm always pretty wired from the training. So the neuro reboot was something that looked interesting to us. So I remember the first time I tried it, it was like a Thursday at noon. So I did the 30 minutes laying down, and I felt something during it. Like I definitely felt relaxed, but I felt like the effects really continued on throughout the day. So I remember sitting on my couch at like 6 p.m. that night, and my eyes were starting to close. And that's not something that typically happens to me. So I was immediately pretty hooked on the neuro reboot. And then I kept on going back to my physical therapist for more. I was like, all right, like how else can we utilize this device to make improvements in the pool?
I know the first couple of times I did that process of just trying to get my body to relax, and it was so easy. I thought it was going to be something that would be more of an actual stretch and something that would take multiple sessions. Was that the same thing with you? Was it after the first treatment, the very first reboot, or was it something that was happening over a series of sessions?
Yeah, I definitely felt a good effect on the first session. I mean, I do think I think your body gets better at relaxing the more times it relaxes.
Yeah.
So I feel like my response has definitely improved over time as well, but definitely had some good acute benefits on that first try.
Man, I would love to dive into your just like regimen a little bit, like, because really did we talk to Olympic athletes, just kind of peek right behind the curtain and really see what it takes to compete at that level. Could you just walk us through like a typical day training, like like what time do you wake up, when do you go to PT and everything else?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with our double days. So we have 2 practices on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So typically those days I'm up at like 5:15, and then we'll go to the pool. We have practice 6 to 7:45 in the morning, and then I'll come back, rest a little bit at my house. We'll be back in the weight room at 12:45. So we'll lift from 12:45 until 1, hit a little stretch from 1 to 1:15. And then we'll be in the water from 1. We'll be 12:45 to 2:15, and then we'll be in the water 2:30 to 3:30. And then typically when I do my physical therapy is on the single days. So I'll go on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We're 8 to 11 in the morning on those days, and then I'll go see the physical therapist. And when I'm there, I mean, we're doing a bunch of different things. It's a lot of cupping. We've done some dry needling. A lot of manual therapy work as well. And then the NeuX has been a great addition to plan.
I would love to hear more about that too, because as you know, a lot of people use it to really just work through nagging injuries, chronic issues, of course, but then also things that are just acute where they're trying to get that range of motion back. How's it mix into that flow? Because most people are trying to figure out how to layer the right other tools with it, like the cupping, the actual exercise, of course. Yeah. How do you and your team currently operate with it?
Yeah, in swimming, where a lot of the injuries kind of stack up is around the shoulders and the lower back and the hips. So first with the shoulders, we've been using it to really try to get strength through an entire range of motion. So I've been using it a lot on the deltoids and just going up to my max range up top, rotating the arms and bringing them down. And I feel like when I have the NueX on, my range of motion is pretty significantly better as compared to when I don't have it on. So I really enjoy it because it allows me to kind of hit different end ranges as compared to when I'm going au natural. Uh, so it's been cool from that perspective. I do think it's helped my range of motion a lot in the shoulders. And then I've liked doing the trunk stabilization as well. I feel like that puts me in a good spot and helps me feel my posture a little bit better. And so that keeps I feel like that keeps my lower back in a good spot as well. And then we've done the lower body mapping, and I've been fortunate, knock on wood, I haven't had a ton of injuries. So typically when I go to physical therapy, it's to stay ahead of any potential injuries. And I feel like we've done that with my groin. So I mean, really on my right side, I pulled my groin in like 8th grade. And I guess it's just kind of been nagging. So when we did the lower body map, we kind of found that the adductor just isn't firing that well. And so that's been an area we've been able to get a better, I don't know the correct like science term, but it's firing a little bit better now, and I feel that when I'm walking around and in the pool.
Knowing how it feels when you're fully turned on, it's something that you almost forget, right? Like if it's been off for a little bit, and
Mm-hmm.
especially people that like are gifted, they're able to compensate better than most everyday folks, so they can work around that even smoother. Once things are activated, as far as with your actual growing, did you notice something immediate, or was something that you had to kind of build up to, as far as being able to kind of have more power coming from your legs?
Definitely immediate in terms of doing exercises with the NeuX on. Uh, Definitely felt a great benefit right away. And as we've done more sessions with it, like that's definitely improved on the day to day as well. I think really as athletes, like we're so aware of everything going on with our bodies because we are really like we are the people looking for the extra 1%.
Yeah.
And this is, I mean, honestly, this has been something that I feel like has helped me get that extra 1% of improvement that I honestly wasn't aware of how I could get. And I feel like this has really taught me how to do it.
I love that, man. I mean, and especially when I'm looking at brand new technology, I'm always um, trying to see whenever I'm truly sold. I'm working in sales and marketing, so I have to feel it myself, right? Because if I'm gonna go talk about it, I gotta like believe it. Like, was there a moment whenever you were like, man, oh, this is cooking? You know what I mean? Because it's one thing to have a really good experience one time or even twice, but then there's a moments for me always when I'm like, oh, this is doing some damage in like a good way. Did you have one of those light bulb type of experiences too?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think for me, it's pretty simple. Like
Mhm.
as I get towards the end of the day, and I can almost feel like the neurons firing, like just like a little pulse, like a little bit of like electricity in the spot where I had the pads earlier in the day. So that for me is like, yeah, there's a huge lasting benefit to doing exercises. I mean, I'm really just doing it once a day, and I'm feeling the effects, you know, way later in the day. So yeah, just feeling those neurons firing was pretty cool.
Dude, it's awesome what you've been able to already achieve too, man. I was watching some of your videos just kind of leading up to this. I mean, being able to accomplish what you've done with the actual backstroke, man, is impressive. Now I'm getting personal, like with the whole, your whole process of really getting to where you got today, man. I'm just curious, yeah, of how you came up.
I've always been pretty good at. I was always pretty athletic growing up. So I was good at a couple of sports. I mean, definitely I was definitely better at swimming than I was at say like baseball.
Okay.
Baseball was a struggle for me, but
Me
uh,
too, man. Me too.
I've always loved sports, and I think that fire's never gone out. So
Mhm.
I think naturally, like as I got to high school, sport is essentially you go to practice, you do what you're told by your coaches, and you can improve. When you get to college, you kind of have to add in, you have to add in a little bit more commitment to continue to improve. So that's when I really started to focus in on the diet and the recovery and the sleep. And now as a professional athlete, I feel like I've honestly taken things to another level. Like, now I have a sleep mattress that's tracking all of my sleep metrics. So I know where I'm at in terms of recovery. I feel like I could stay ahead of any overtraining. Uh, we're doing things like a monthly blood test to make sure we're staying on top of biomarkers.
Oh, wow.
And then really the same constant of going to the pool and being relentless in terms of trying to find improvements in the pool, whether that's from a fitness standpoint or more a technical standpoint. So yeah, we really are looking at everything we can to improve at this point. And luckily it's turned out well so far, but hopefully in a couple of months here at the Summer Olympics, hopefully it turns out real well.
Look, I mean, obviously everyone's rooting for you. I mean, you got the whole country right behind your back here, man. I mean, and I'm sure you'll live up to exactly what you've been doing your whole career. So very little doubts there. I mean, with that, I'm just curious about those metrics, man, because I love when people start talking about the actual science and
Mhm.
just some of the actual data too. Is sleep like your number one thing that you're really kind of locked in on? But would you say sleep is your biggest driver right now?
Yeah. I think sleep is. I mean, I think sleep is really like the best recovery you can get, and it's also a really good indicator of where the body's at. So for me, I mean, one of the other things that sold me on NueX, it was when I started doing the neuro reboot, my heart rate variability number was going up, which you want that number to be higher. So
Yep.
so that was a really cool thing for me to see. But yeah, definitely, I'm really staying on top of sleep because I mean I think there's just a couple of things that when you're going into overtraining that'll show up in your sleep, and that's kind of the first indicator to take a step back and let the body recover a little bit.
If you have a mattress that's really tracking the actual quality of sleep, which I love that type of stuff too as well, man. I think that just shows just your actual overall commitment to it. And then you add in different tools to help you kind of get in that deeper level of like sleep as well as boosting your actual HRV. This is the this is like the actual smartest way to actually go about training, right? Things have been changing so much. Any other tools that like you are kind of bringing in to really help track some metrics around your actual training and your recovery?
Yeah, I mean, so the main one is the sleep tracker and the mattress. I mean, the rest of it, I've worn wearables from time to time in the water.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and I think honestly, like
Yeah.
the hard part about those is when you're swimming, there's a couple of people in the lane, and so like if you have something on your wrist and that maybe hits someone else, yeah, that could hurt pretty bad. So that's the reason why I don't wear a wearable in the pool. It's just I don't want to hurt anyone else, and I don't want to hurt myself.
Right. Yep.
So really, like swimming, there's a ton of metrics anyway. Like we look at the clock like the entire practice. So I know exactly what I'm going in each lap, and I count strokes too. So I know how many strokes it is to get across the pool, and what time is correlated with that.
Right.
Uh, yeah. But really, I'm going a little bit more on feel in the water.
Obviously, you have the games coming up. I mean, I'm sure you're just totally locked in on that. Anything else that you're kind of adding into your actual overall training regimen with the new X? I'm just curious what else you might be kind of cooking on.
Yeah. I mean, so really, the only add to the training in the last couple of months has been the NeuX.
Mm.
So like I said, on the range of motion stuff, I've really liked that in the shoulders. I've liked the trunk stability, and I've played around with the core strengthening too.
Oh,
Uh,
really? Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, for the aesthetic. Uh, I mean, it helps me in the water too, but it looks good. So I enjoy the I enjoy the core strengthening as well. And those have been the main uses for me.
Well, right before we get ready to wrap up, I think that talking about that shrunk, people don't think about how to kind of use this type of tool around your core. And I see a lot of people using it for range of motion, increasing in the shoulder, of course. That's a really common one, as well as just using it over the quads for training, especially when people are doing like any type of leg lifts. But having your core strong is going to be important for all those moves, you know? And I don't see a lot of people doing that. So could you just like break down how you guys use it? Is it more so cross sectional as far as having those pads, so where they kind of travel across the core? Or do you guys have movements that you go through as well?
Yeah. So I've done core in both ways where it's where it's just black up top, red on the bottom.
Hmm.
And then I have done it diagonal as well. So yeah, I try to play around with everything because I think the way that I view core strength is that's where you get your body connection, and that's where you can connect what the upper body's doing with the lower body. So I'm always trying to. I always have a pretty good emphasis on core. So I do like the I do like doing the diagonal for the core because that's pretty natural to the stroke that I'm doing in the pool. So I mean, essentially, like in swimming, it's really a similar motion to like throwing a ball or swinging a bat, where like your hips drive the rotation. So like when my hand hits the water, my so if it was my right hand hitting the water, my left hip is gonna drive the rotation to get get the power of my stroke. So that's how I like to think about the core. So when I have it on, I'm doing a lot of like I throw it on the core, but then I also will throw it on the obliques too.
Nice.
And so I'm doing a lot of like rotational stuff. So like I'll do a plank and then do like hip dips where I touch my hip down to the side and then bring it back up. I'll do like side planks with the rotation.
Oh, that's sick.
I'll do plank where I'm raising like one leg at a time. So those are just some examples of exercises I'm doing with the core.
Right, man. I'm getting pretty pumped to hear that though, because I haven't thought about using like that, but it sounds like, and you can kind of tell me from off here, it really helps out with this mind to muscle connection for you when it comes to like going through those movements. So if you have the actual NueX on your core and you're going through like hip taps, let's call it, then you can feel your obliques activate even more as you're going through the movement. And at least that's how I'm hearing it.
And even on some of it, like it does, even though I'm on like the strengthening setting,
Hmm.
I have it set at, I'll have it set at 50 hertz.
Oh wow.
Even though I have it there, like I do feel like I have better range as compared to when I'm just doing core with nothing on. So I'm able to get, like, as an example, on the side planks with the rotation, I'm able to get that rotation over a little bit more. So I feel like there's a really good core benefit for sure.
I'm about to let you go, man. I just had this thought while you're talking though. I was doing these chest presses like last night in my basement. I had a new X on, and there was this moment where it kind of clicked for me because I haven't been doing it that long, but this part did hit me pretty good. But it was like I was turning up pretty high because I was really trying to push it, and then I was like, oh wait, like I felt something like almost open up in my mind where I'm like, I can press through this, and then it became so smooth, man. Like it became like almost like butter. Do you have that feeling a lot, or is that just kind of like something that I went off of my own head with?
No, I 100% will feel that when I'm doing things. Like it definitely like, and I would say I probably felt that the most on a range of motion with the shoulders.
Yeah.
There's been a couple times where I'll get my arms up here and I'll almost get like a little pop, like a good pop, where I'm able
Hmm.
to get through a range that I was a little bit restricted on before. And so whenever I feel that, I'm like, oh yeah, like this thing is really good and helping me out a lot.
Dude, I love hearing that. Ryan, man, I'm definitely rooting for you. So nothing new here for you, but I want to see you just crush it and just keep on killing it, man. And thank you for your time today, man. Wish you all the best, man.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me on. This is great.